Tonight, you will get dressed without thinking about it. You will pull on a single piece of fabric before anything else. You won't question it. You never do. But that one habit, covering yourself first, is older than agriculture, older than cities, older than almost anything you consider civilization. And the real reason you do it is far stranger than modesty. Start with your body. Somewhere between 1 and 3 million years ago, your ancestors lost most of their fur. Researchers studying lice genetics, including work associated with biologist Mark Stoneking, used a clever trick to estimate when clothing began. Body lice, the kind that live in fabric rather than hair, could only evolve once humans started wearing something. By tracing the genetic split between head lice and body lice, scientists placed the origin of clothing at roughly 170,000 years ago. That number should stop you. Modern humans are around 300,000 years old. For over 100,000 years, your ancestors walked the earth with nothing on at all. Naked, exposed, cold. Then something changed. Anthropologist Ian Gilligan has spent years studying exactly what that something was. His research doesn't point to shame. It doesn't point to social status. His conclusion is simpler and colder. Clothing began as thermal technology, a survival tool. Nothing more. Picture an ice age. Temperatures plunging. Your ancestors needed a way to trap heat against their bodies. Furs draped over shoulders worked for the torso. But there was a problem nobody talks about. The extremities, the groin, the places where blood vessels sit close to the surface, where frostbite strikes first, where warmth escapes fastest. This is where the story gets interesting. Long before tailored clothing existed, there is evidence of something far more basic. A wrap, a strip of hide or fiber tied around the hips. Not for style, not for coverage from other people's eyes. For heat retention in the one region of the body that couldn't afford to lose it. Archaeologist Olga Sofa changed how researchers thought about this. For decades, prehistoric clothing research focused on leather, because leather survives in the archaeological record and plant fiber does not. Sofer's work on impressions found in fired clay at sites in the Czech Republic revealed something nobody expected. Twisted plant fibers, cordage, evidence of weaving dating back over 25,000 years. Suddenly, the picture shifted. Ice Age humans weren't just draping animal skins over their bodies, they were spinning fiber, twisting it into cord, possibly weaving simple garments, including undergarments, long before anyone assumed such skill existed. Her colleague, archaeologist James Adovasio, pushed the idea further. Working alongside Sofer, Adovasio argued that textile technology may be just as important as stone tool technology for early human survival. Weaving wasn't a hobby, it was engineering. And some of the earliest engineering the human body needed wasn't a coat. It was a wrap around the hips. Why there specifically? Think about what your body does in extreme cold. Blood retreats from your extremities to protect your core, but your groin sits close to your core while staying exposed, thin-skinned, and packed with blood vessels near the surface. Losing heat there wasn't just uncomfortable, it could threaten survival itself. A simple hide wrap solved that problem efficiently. Minimal material, maximum heat retention exactly where it mattered. Here's the ridiculous part, the part that makes underwear objectively funny once you understand it. The first undergarments weren't about hiding anything. Nobody was embarrassed. There was no audience to impress. Your ancestors weren't covering up. They were insulating a body part that got cold faster than the rest of them. Less fashion, more a tiny personal sleeping bag. Now fast forward. In ancient Egypt, undergarments show up again, but the reason has shifted. Sand was the threat now, along with heat, friction, and manual labor. Egyptian loincloths, some of the oldest preserved garments ever found, were designed for movement, work, and the body doing physical labor in punishing conditions. Preserved examples show reinforced stitching exactly where friction would have been worst, at the hips and inner thighs. Applied physics, long before anyone had that language. The pattern kept repeating. In Mesopotamia, loincloths appear carved into stone reliefs of laborers and soldiers. In Rome, the sublegaculum was worn by athletes in the heat and soldiers marching under chafing armor. In medieval Europe, linen braize protected skin from rough wool outerwear. Different cultures, different centuries, the same solution to the same problem. Not shared instructions. Convergent invention, because human anatomy doesn't change much depending on where you're born. Your body's thermoregulation system prioritizes core temperature above almost everything else. Cold or hot, the groin kept losing that particular argument first, whether from frostbite risk or constant friction and sweat. That's why undergarments appear so early and so consistently, while sleeves and structured collars show up far later and evolve far more slowly. The earliest garment humans needed wasn't the most visible one. It was the most functional one. And here's the strange part, if you let it sit. For over 100,000 years, humans walked around with nothing at all, completely unbothered, because there was no concept of nakedness as a problem. Then a temperature drop forced a practical fix. That fix worked so well it got repeated. Repetition across enough generations quietly rewired what felt normal. And what felt normal eventually became what felt necessary, whether or not the original reasons still applied. By the time complex societies emerged, with laws and religions, the undergarment had already existed for tens of thousands of years as pure survival gear. Those systems didn't invent the habit of covering the body. They inherited it, then attached morality to a decision your ancestors made for entirely unrelated practical reasons. Psychologists call this kind of thing behavioral fossilization. An action outlives its original cause. It becomes automatic, unquestioned, invisible. Ask most people today why they wear underwear, and you'll get answers about hygiene or comfort. Almost nobody will say it's a distant echo of an Ice Age survival strategy, because almost nobody knows that's what it is. Consider your own morning routine one more time. You wake up, you reach for that first layer before anything else, before a shirt, before shoes. You don't deliberate. The choice was made for you tens of thousands of years ago by people responding to threats you will never face, in climates you will likely never experience. That's the quiet strangeness sitting underneath one of the most ordinary moments of your day. A piece of fabric you barely register carries the fingerprints of survival strategies stretching back to the last ice age, refined across deserts, battlefields, and workshops, until it became so automatic that questioning it feels almost absurd. You will get dressed tomorrow without thinking about it. You will pull on that same first layer, in the same order, without ever asking why. But now you know, it was never about modesty at all.